Let's go through all of them one by one. Two very special guests joining us this morning. Major General Sudhakarji, defense and geopolitical expert, and we also have Major General S.P. Asthana, defense and strategic expert. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time early morning today and for being here with us on News 9. I think there are a lot of critical questions that one has to go over, and we'll try and sort of put those into perspective. The first question really is, what were the objectives of the United States and Israel when they decided to engage with Iran on the 28th of February? There were talks of regime change. There were talks of denuclearization and decimating the nuclear enrichment, uranium enrichment proposition by Iran completely. We really don't know how much of those objectives have been achieved. But militarily, at least that is what the US president is saying in his post this morning. Militarily, all objectives have been met and also exceeded. What were really those military objectives, if they were ever stated? And by what measure does Donald Trump really go ahead and say that those objectives have been met? Let's try and get those perspectives from first you, General Sudhakarji. If I can really try and help our viewers decode through your expertise as an army man and as a geopolitics expert. What were the objectives of US President Donald Trump? Was it just pressure from Israel? And was it really that alliance that was on display for the last 40 days? Or was there really something which was posing as an imminent threat to the United States of America? Because as we understand, regime change has not happened, and one really doesn't know how much of the uranium enrichment advancement was Iran already making and how much of that has really been decimated.
Yeah, Karthik, thank you for inviting me for your morning show, and my very warm greetings to the distinguished and esteemed co-panelists. Firstly, let me clarify that this particular epic fury was without any objective. Even if they have, or they state that they had an objective, it is simply an afterthought. But that afterthought also has got a historical and legacy interpretation. The legacy interpretation is, for past 47 years, America has been trying and crying from the rooftop to somehow or the other dismiss this Islamic regime in Iran without having defined it in terms of military objective, political objective. In my opinion, whether it happens or not, the world order has to take cognizance of the political objective in the following manner. Donald Trump is a politician. He must talk as a politician. Political objective should be how Iran would be left after the conflict. Will it be left as a destabilized nation like Iraq, Libya, Syria? They carried out the regime change, but did they ensure that there was some kind of a stability? The interpretation of political objective has to be in terms of the political, economic, constitutional stability of a country, because they have a role and responsibility, they have an accountability as a superpower, because this is being taken for granted for far too long. Nobody seems to be asking any question. Not that even if you ask question, they will respond to it, but somebody has to call it out. That is one point. Second point is the military objective. Even if they did not define it at the beginning, I would say that there was a meeting on 29th of December 2025 at Mar-a-Lago in Florida between Netanyahu and Donald Trump. The meeting had lasted for more than 3 hours. Not a single media platform, Western media, or talk about the Eastern media or any media in the world, nobody has asked question as to what did the talk take place for, what was the outcome. But immediately after a couple of days of this meeting, the mobilization of armed forces of America had started. On 13th of January, there was a exclusive and special presentation given to Donald Trump. I think it took place in Pentagon or maybe in the White House. All important officials, Tulsi Gabbard, Pete Hegseth, you had Marco Rubio, name anyone, all the top-notch guys, they were present there. And their basic job was to explain to Donald Trump that Iran did not pose any kind of threat to USA. They did it. They did a marvelous job. And they summed it up well. Donald Trump was very impressed and he was convinced. But what happened thereafter? There are many things which happened, but I'll go fast forward in order to respect the time that you have. 26th of February 2026, the foreign minister of Oman, who was the interlocutor or the intermediary in the talk taking place, that is the Geneva 2 between Iran and USA, he air dashes to America to meet Donald Trump, couldn't meet him. He met JD Vance, told him, what is all this happening? If this is for the first time, diplomacy has actually brought about some kind of a tangible and substantive outcome, which is acceptable to both the stakeholders. And this is for the first time Iran has accepted that nuclear enrichment or infrastructure or any kind of centrifuge, nothing required. They are prepared to accept anything demanded by USA. But why are you mobilizing the resources in this manner? There was no response. He came back on 27th in Oman. He went public in the international media. He said that this is for the first time we have reached a solution. And early morning, 8:15 Tehran time, the supreme leader and 49 leaders are bombed to death, and those innocent girls, 170 girls, they are also knocked off by a Tomahawk 1 or 2 missiles. They say it was an accidental fire, or it was a misfire, or it was an error. These kind of errors during undeclared, unprovoked war are not acceptable in the 21st century. How many countries are asking questions about this? Is there any ethics and morality and rule of law in the conflict, in the military rule that you talk about, or the war, any battle? Every battle is supposed to have some kind of a rule.
Yep.
Doesn't this battle or the war isn't it defined by some kind of say guideline of the rule of law, or the code of conduct? Is this on by a superpower and Israel? Not that I'm siding Iran, by no means
Sure.
am I siding with the terrorism,
Sure.
but the question remains this. So therefore, to answer your question, this country, both the countries have come in with their independent, perceived kind of an objective, which has not been put into black and white, because this is a conflict, this is a war, this is not a picnic they have gone out for. Back to you,
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's been a bloody war at that. And like you rightly mentioned, it's not about taking sides. It's really about putting the facts in perspective. Journalist Thana, if I can bring you into this conversation, every war also has definite winners and losers. But that is, again, something which this war, at least if we were to assume that the ceasefire will hold, there won't be further escalation, and eventually there is going to be at least some degree of lasting peace. Would it be hard to clearly identify who the winners and who the losers in this war are? Well, losers at some level would still be understandable. It would largely be the civilian casualties, and it would be the large, vast-scale global shipping route disruptions and trade disruptions and rising oil prices impacting consumers across the world. But would it be hard to pinpoint who exactly are the winners in this war, simply because this was the might of the US military and its ally Israel against what turned out to be an economic heft that Iran was able to display quite blatantly during this 40-day period?
Thank you for giving me an opportunity after, I think, about 25, 30 odd minutes. Notwithstanding that, firstly, before I answer your question, yesterday I predicted, and exactly the same thing happened. I had said that Trump will not walk through what he has threatened, and he will postpone and announce a ceasefire in the morning. If you play out yesterday's program of mine yesterday night, you will find that this is exactly what has happened, and I had predicted, and it stands vindicated. Number one. Number two, the questions which you asked. Firstly, when we as a strategic analyst analyze as to who is the winner, who is the loser, we gain it as per what were the aims and what has been the outcome. In my opinion, based on whatever tweets were given out, because that was the only communication channel which President Trump was using, his political aim was regime change, which has remained for so many years, which has not happened because Khomeini has been replaced by his son. His strategic aim was totally dismantling the nuclear setup and getting this enriched nuclear material, which has not happened. Degrading Iran's capabilities in terms of military capabilities, IRGC's capabilities, missile capabilities, and Iranian Navy, and their capability to project power. Now, a fair amount of degradation in that context has happened. When it comes to Iranians, remember the war was started by USA and Israel. So Iranians were responding. So they were retaliating. And their aim, only one aim to start with was firstly survival, which they have survived very successfully. And second was imposed very heavy cost on uh, President Trump and Israel to ensure that this doesn't happen again. Now, if you see the 15 points given by President Trump and 10 points given by Iran, these 10 points, President Trump till yesterday night was saying that they are unacceptable and he was about to destroy the civilization. But today morning, when he found that Iran did not budge, and that point of time, all these 10 points are seeming to be workable for him. So this is a typical taco movement, that is Trump always chickens out, and he has chickened out.
Absolutely. And one would also argue that perhaps, the points have not really changed. Iran has been pretty clear on its position right from the start of the war. And in fact, if these points, and one doesn't really know exactly what those 10 points are, but from what we are picking up and from all the information we are gathering...
I can read out those 10 points. I can read out those 10 points.
Yeah, we have these 10 points, sir, but these are unconfirmed 10 points because nobody has really seen the final proposal. But these are unconfirmed 10 points that we are flashing on the screen as well right now. But among them, what really stands out, General Asana, is the fact that the Strait of Hormuz, which in any case was never really, controlled by Iran or by any one country in particular, the fact that the US went into aggressively, taking a very aggressive posture along with Israel, going ahead, engaging with Iran in this 40-day war, pretty much has given control of the Strait of Hormuz voluntarily or involuntarily to Iran, and now Iran gets to control it. I mean, is this by any stretch of imagination a victory for the United States or for anybody in the world for that matter?
No, I think United States certainly hasn't won for the simple reason which I explained earlier. Strait of Hormuz was already open before the war, and opening for another 2 weeks, as Iran has said, and also ships to pass through in consultation with their with Iran. That is the language which Iranians have used. Now that indirectly means that perhaps there is some kind of arrangement or an acceptability, or even if there is no acceptability, it is the claim of Iran that this is how Strait of Hormuz will be opened. But notwithstanding that, legally,
the president is okay with that. He calls it workable. If these points are to be believed, then these are workable solutions for the US president.
But it may not be agreeable to the rest of the world in
Absolutely.
all probabilities, because there is a provision in UNCLOS. As per UNCLOS, a natural water, you cannot give the control to any country. That is a global common. Iran was quoting the example of Panama and example of Suez Canal. Now, these two are artificial, as per UNCLOS, these two are artificial water channels which somebody has made. And therefore, if he charges toll tax, who's the guy who has made it, that still makes some sense, and that is allowed as per UNCLOS, but it is not allowed for any natural state, as Strait of Hormuz or Strait of Malacca or any other state. So therefore, legally, Iran is not entitled to, but what Iran is saying, that these kind of damages and reparation, if nobody gives me, then this is the only way I can, and he is ready to share those 2 million per ship with Oman. That is what they are trying to propose. Let's see whether that gets agreed or not. But still, there is a lot between cup and lip, as
Absolutely.
you rightly mentioned. Yes, it's a very good news for the rest of the world, but I must also tell you that there can be spoilers. Now, Israel is one of the spoilers, which is quite evident. And as it is, it's going to take some time. Even in the previous wars also, earlier wars also, after the announcement of ceasefire, it takes some time for guns to be silent.
That's right.
Because till the time the instructions are given to the last man, and he actually obeys it. Israel, till yesterday, in fact, I told you in the last yesterday's program also, Israel is trying to make the best because they know that there will be an announcement in the morning, and therefore, whole night they have tried to degrade Iranian capability as best as they could.
That's
So
right.
they were trying to make the best out of this, and there could be spoilers from the Israeli side, as I anticipate. They
Absolutely.
will not stop with Lebanon anyway.
Right.
Back to you.
Right. And of course, Israel has been bombing not just the Hezbollah on the outskirts of Lebanon, but also civilian infrastructure, and which also tantamounts to war crime. But meanwhile, General Sudhakarji, there are other points also in that 10-point proposal, and what we assume are potentially, some of those points in that 10-point proposal. But apart from the Strait of Hormuz, there are two other critical parts, and one point particularly pertains to the reconstruction of Iran. That is something which is going to be absolutely central to Iran. Who's going to pay for the war damages? Because at the end of the day, if you get US or any of US's allies, or even any other global multinational, multilateral agency to pay for those war damages, what was the good of inflicting those